positive side is if we sow seeds of honor daily, little bit, small seeds of kindness and respect and valuing one another, getting our priorities right, then you will reap a harvest of blessing. You will reap relational connection, because that's what we desire, and generational blessing. Welcome to Kingdom Unleashed. Our passion is to help you, to equip you to flourish at home, in life, and in ministry. This is the first part of this series where Sonika and I reveal how you can bring honor to your home. And in this session, we especially give you a few key principles to help you have a happy, wholesome marriage and ultimately a beautiful family. So let's jump in. Welcome, guys. It's wonderful for me to have Sonika, my wife, the love of my life, with me here today on Kingdom Unleashed.
It's awesome to be here.
We are honored to have you with us. And it's the first time in this last while that we're actually having a video discussion. And so we've been married for 23 years, and I think it's still going well. Yeah, you can't ask the guy, you have to ask the woman.
Yeah.
If are we doing okay?
We're doing okay. There's always room for improvements, but
absolutely,
we're doing
absolutely. Okay. Now we have to keep humble and keep on working at it. And so we want to chat today about honor in the home. And we want to really give keys for how you can experience a blessed marriage, a blessed family. And I believe this is really, really going to help each one of us. And we're going to get really practical. And I'm going to ask Sonika sometimes also to jump in and give us some practical how-tos. And so it's going to be really good. Okay, so Sonika, what is like the key to a woman's heart? Or what is a woman's love language? I mean, we've mostly probably all have heard about the 5 love language kind of thing, but if we have to like summarize it into something simple, because we know that the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. It may not so easy. It is so simple. But some of us guys are like, I don't know what to do with this woman and I can't understand her. But help us break through the clutter. What is that key to a woman's heart?
I think for me, love is spelled kindness. And I know we've had many discussions around that. And, I teach our son, that kindness is the way to a woman's heart. So I think if kindness is anywhere in the mix, you're going to speak my language. And I think it's something we need to learn. I need to learn respect. You need to learn kindness. It's a lifelong journey. But I just realized that, we can ask God's help. But kindness definitely for me is going to do the trick.
Yeah, I mean, you shared that with me a while ago, and I was like, yes, that is it. It is so simple. Just be kind. Be kind to your partner. Be kind to your child or your parent. And obviously, it's sometimes it's hard, but that really, I think, at the core of honor, of valuing somebody else is, hey, I'm going to give you grace. Yeah. As the scriptures say, love covers a multitude of sins. So to simply, when you feel like you can actually now be upset, or you can raise your voice and be unkind, then to choose to be kind. It changes things in a moment. Where it could have spiraled out of control into conflict and get ugly, if one of the two would just choose to be kind, it sort of breaks that cycle.
Yes, absolutely.
So I was so blessed when Sonika shared it with me. That's why I love being married to you. You are my partner in ministry. And every now and again, you share these incredible wisdom, wise words. And I'm like, that is God speaking right there. And so I want to encourage all of us listening, kindness. Kindness is at the heart of honor. And you see, life flows through honor. The life of God, the goodness of God, it flows through honor. And so we want to unpack a little bit what is honor, but at the heart, at the core of it is kindness. I value you enough to be kind to you. because we tend to get familiar, we tend to get used to one another, and sometimes we in the world out there or in church, we're we're kind and we're nice, and then back at home
True.
people tend to fake it at times. And we want to say today, hey, let's bring kindness to our hearts, to our homes, and to the behind the scenes when no one's watching.
And I think sometimes it's so easy to be kind to people at work. Not necessarily easy, but we really make an effort to be kind to the people at work or at church or in your environment. And when you come back home, you're almost just tired of being kind. And then your family receives the harshness and the impatience. And I think this is where we need to make a deliberate effort with those that we see every day, not to become familiar, but to extend kindness.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it's a game changer. I really think it is.
Yeah, and I think part of honor in the home is to remind ourselves of the value.
Yes.
It's like for me in the ministry, I can be successful out there. I can do all these wonderful things and the church can grow, kingdom can come. But if things fall apart at home, it's a disaster. And it happens to so many people. Or you can be successful in the business world and you can be successful and wonderful in people's eyes. But when you lose your wife's heart, you're in trouble. And so we want to really encourage each one of us. Let's remind ourselves again that success outside of the home can never make up for failure at home.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, when we started off in the ministry in Shofar, say 20 plus years ago, there were times Sonika, you remember those times. I was working 7 days a week. Yep. I was a youth pastor. And then Sonika, you would be crying on the shoulder of one of the pastors saying I'm not seeing my husband.
Yeah.
And that's how we did ministry at that time. It was just you'd go 7 days a week. You just keep on going because it's for the kingdom and it's for God.
Yeah.
But we saw the fruit. It wasn't good. It wasn't good for us. And I realized this is not God's heart. And so when we came to East London and we planted a church here in East London, in the Eastern Cape in South Africa, I told you, I believe there's a better way. And I said, we're going to trust God that the church will flourish and that our family, our marriage will flourish.
Yeah, and I'm so extremely grateful for that shift because I think as a woman is also kingdom-minded and wants to see the kingdom come, it's this tension because it's for the kingdom and it's for the glory of God. But if you never see your husband and if things spiral out of control and, family life is just always very, very low on the list of priorities, you tend to lose your passion or you tend to lose your excitement about the ministry. And I think for us, it was a massive value change. And we often speak about it. We really believe that both ministry and marriage can and should flourish, but it's an intentional effort to prioritize, to reprioritize. And sometimes, yes, we're busy, and sometimes, I think the kingdom should get preference, but then there's always a time when family again gets preference. So it's not the one or the other. There's rhythms.
Yes.
And that is, I think, what we found. It's possible.
Yes, and the rhythms have really helped us. And so something also that again, when it comes to, you need to get your priorities right. So if we say ministry or the kingdom comes before covenant in terms of marriage, you're setting yourself up for trouble. And so so Jesus comes first, your personal relationship with Christ, that's number one. But then comes marriage and family. That's covenant that you can't, that's massively important. And then comes church, ministry, those kind of things, or whatever you're doing, business or hobbies. And I've found that when Sonika, with you, I've seen it with you, that when you feel unsafe, when you feel like there's competition, it's like the church becomes another woman, and it it feels like there's another woman in this relationship, but it's the bride of Christ. Then you become...
I become weird.
You become weird. I wanted to say you become a little bit weird because you feel there's competition. And so I have made a decision And as I've said to you many times, and I mean it, that if I have to choose tomorrow between you and ministry, I choose you. And obviously we're trusting I'd never have to make that decision, but it's almost like a daily decision to prioritize my wife, a daily decision to prioritize family. And we don't get it right all the time. We have to have our chats every now and again and, redraw the boundaries and get things right.
Yeah.
But how does that make you feel when I say that and when I live that? Because obviously it's not just something I can say, it's something I must live.
Yes.
How does that make you feel?
I think that reassurance, hearing it, not once, not twice, but all the time, it makes me feel safe. It makes me feel that church is not a threat. We do it together. I'm excited about the kingdom and church because you make me feel safe. I know that when I talk and when things get too busy or too much, I have a platform, I have a voice, I can speak with you. So it makes me feel safe, and it makes all the difference in ministry. I don't feel lonely. I don't feel threatened. I love the church. I love the bride of Christ, but you play a big role in that by just reassuring me that it's not a competition, and that makes me feel safe.
That's good.
And I think also just something that I really appreciate about you is that your backstage and your front stage, it's exactly the same thing. When I listen to you on a Sunday, I listen to you every Sunday when you preach, and I think for a pastor's wife to sit there and to feel that what a husband is saying, it's not reflected at home, it's tormenting, because what do you do with that? And I think for me, just to feel that whatever you say on a Sunday, you actually live it out at home. It's one of the greatest gifts that you can give me, and I think it is. Yeah, it's beautiful. That's what it's supposed to be. But I think often there can be a disconnect, and I'm grateful. I'm truly grateful for that you're willing to humble yourself, not only publicly but also at home when it's just you and I. You're willing to say you're sorry. You're willing to humble yourself, and I think that opens my heart for your role in the kingdom and in ministry, because I'm not scared. I'm not threatened. I feel safe, I feel secure, I feel loved. And it's a gift.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that in you. I can see when you're feeling insecure because I'm too busy or priorities are not being implemented correctly. But I can see how when you flourish, when things are in order, and we spend quality time together, and we're doing ministry, and we're even busy, but we're doing it together. And so for those who don't know, Sonika is assistant pastor at our church. She preaches, and she's the worship pastor. She oversees the worship teams, and she helps manage the staff. And so we really work together a lot. And it's just wonderful to see when you feel secure, you feel loved. We're doing this as a team. There's no competition between us and the church. Then things are beautiful.
And we had to learn to do this together. I mean, I think it's now year 14 that we work together, or actually going into 15 years that we work together. And in the beginning, we had to find each other. We had to learn to do this together. But what an amazing journey. What an amazing journey to build God's kingdom together. I always said, one day I'm going to work with my husband, even before I met you. And for me, it's always been in my heart to partner with my husband, not just to have a marriage, but to have a kingdom partnership. And how amazing is it to do this together, to partner together, to pray together, to dream together, to even if there's issues and even if things get overwhelming, to work through it together, to support each other, to trust the Lord for his kingdom to come. And even to see our son just embracing church and wanting to come, not because he has to, but because he wants to. For me, that is, it's my dream. I live my dream, so I'm grateful.
That's wonderful. And at home we can't fake it. So for me, hearing what you are seeing of how I live, that is my ultimate affirmation, that, hey, we're not obviously not perfect. There's always room to grow, but we're on the right track, And so it's important to have those discussions. I mean, we've had many discussions about, let's get our boundaries right. Let's sort a few things out. Let's talk again about our values, our priorities. Let's talk about our calendar. Let's get those date nights or date mornings in the calendar. There's practical things when you need to work through, but it starts with your values, your priorities, and then having those discussions and then implementing. So there's some really practical things that one can do. But what I've seen is like a picture I have in my mind's eye of as a husband or a wife, it's like we hold the other one's heart in our hand. So it's like the heart is really fragile. It's like handle with care. So no one on this planet can hurt Sonika more. No one can hurt you more than me. And no one can hurt me more than you.
Yeah, true.
And as parents, no one can hurt our kids more than us. And so I want to hold this picture before us that your partner's heart is you're holding it in your hand, guys, and you can crush it or you can protect. You can cover. Same ladies, you can really wound your husband or you can protect and honor. And that's honor is protecting. Same way with our children. Protect the heart. We'll talk about that later, but I just see my voice has such an impact on our son. And sometimes Sonika put that on my radar. Say, André, what you said there, that hurt him a little bit. And then we have to talk and we have to sort things out. But I want to hold that before you continuously. Honor is to protect the heart, not crush. If we crush one another's hearts, we lose one another. And so it's this truth that we want to hold before we unpack a bit today. If you sow seeds of dishonor, you will reap a harvest of humiliation. If you sow seeds of dishonor, day after day, the way you speak, the way you act towards your partner or your children, you're sowing seeds. You're sowing seeds, and you're going to reap a harvest. And if it's seeds of dishonor, you reap a harvest of humiliation. That's when divorce comes. Or, you lose your child's heart and they don't want we're out of the house. They don't want to be close to you anymore, Seeds of dishonor. And I've seen this. I mean, we've both seen this. We've seen pastors, we've seen ministers, we've seen church leaders, we've seen people over the last 50 years, over time, the sowing seeds of dishonor. And then that point where, the husband loses his wife's heart and she moves out. Christians, committed to Jesus people. But I could see it coming. I could see, no, you're dishonoring your wife. No, you're not prioritizing her. And over time, those seeds manifest in a harvest of humiliation. And it's painful, And
it's often a blind spot. I think sometimes we think we act honoring. We honestly, sincerely think that the way I do it is honoring or respectful. But sometimes I would say something and you would not perceive it as respectful. I didn't mean to be disrespectful, but you feel disrespected. Or you say something to me and I feel that was unkind. That was not your intention. And maybe for somebody else it would not have been unkind. But I'm a sensitive soul. So I just realized that it's not about how I perceive respect. It's how you perceive it.
Yes.
Which means if you feel disrespected, I need to develop a better vocabulary of respect, or I need to expand my respect vocabulary. I need to talk to you in a way that you feel respectful. You need to speak with me in a way that I feel that's kind. Otherwise, I think I'm respectful, but I'm actually not.
Yes. No, that's good. Because again, I mean, I can think I'm being very kind, but you need to define right. Kindness for me, because I need to love you in a way that you feel loved. And I think that is often where people miss one another, because it's, I think God has a sense of humor. Often say this, it's like God made them male, he made them female, and he said, hey, try and figure that out. And it says a massive, massive difference between male and female. We think differently, we speak differently, our Our way of looking at the world is so different. And that's why we need to learn what does male, that language, how does that sound? What does it speak?
Yeah.
Speaks respect, and female speaks, love, wants to feel loved, wants to experience kindness. And so that's why we need to engage and connect. Okay, so seeds of dishonor. And I think, as you mentioned now, we needed to figure out, well, what is dishonor in your partner's eyes? It is irrelevant if you say, hey, but I really love her, but she's not feeling loved. You're deceiving yourself. And that's why we need then that feedback. And I appreciate our relationship where we can talk and we can figure out what does honor truly look like. Now, the positive side is if we sow seeds of honor daily, little bit, small seeds of kindness and respect and valuing one another, getting our priorities right, then you will reap a harvest of blessing. You will reap relational connection, because that's what we desire, and generational blessing. I'll repeat that. So if you sow seeds of honor, of valuing your partner, valuing your children, and things we're going to unpack still, you will reap a harvest of blessing, a blessed marriage, a blessed family, blessed children, blessed coming generations, a harvest of blessing. You'll reap relational connection. And I've seen this in our relationship. The more that I'm kind with you, Sonika, the more I value you, it's like then you draw closer. There's relational connection. And then obviously generational blessing. And we're seeing this in our son, Wian, who's 15. We see it in him. He wants to spend time with us. He wants to be with us. He thinks being a pastor, but my job is the coolest thing on the planet, and he loves Jesus. And that's ultimately the test, the fruit of that, we're creating an environment where that blessing can flow by the grace of God.
Yeah, I'm so amazed actually by your relationship with Wian, because obviously when he was 2 or 3 years old, I think it's difficult for any dad in general to connect with a baby or a toddler. But now seeing him grow older and seeing how you are his hero, he often would share with me, Mom, I want to, Daddy gets up early in the morning and he prays, and I want to do that. Even like he's now 15, that he shared that with me a couple of years ago. And I can see that whatever you do, he wants to do that. He wants to be like you. And I think that's incredible, You guys are so similar. I'm so grateful for a dad in Wian's life, because I'm his mom and I play a massive role, and I know that, and I recognize that, and I'm grateful for that. But I can't be his dad. The movies you guys watch and enjoy together, that's very different from what Wian and I would watch together. The jokes you guys laugh at. Wian wants to study the exact same you study, or the exact same thing that you studied. And he wants to be like you. And I'm just so grateful, for a son who can grow up in a home where there's a mom and a dad. And not only a dad who's there but not there. I think you're very intentional with Wian. And I think you're present. You're present, and it makes a huge difference in his life. And I actually just want to speak to single parents just for a moment. If you are a single parent and you can't fulfill both roles, and I think it's not something God expects, but I want to encourage you to trust the Lord for somebody, a grandfather, a teacher, a friend, or somebody who can fulfill that role in your child's life, because I've seen that there's multiple testimonies of single parents, and God's provided somebody to be either the dad or the mom in their lives, fulfill a portion of that role, and it made all the difference. And ultimately also God is our Father. So if you're a single mom, if you point your child to Jesus, God's going to be his or her Father. And that is the beauty of knowing God. He's the God of redemption.
Yes, amen. Yeah, God always has a solution for whatever we're going through. Okay, so another key aspect, I think, of honor, because I think some people think like honor and being honorable, and so we're still going to unpack some of it, but it might feel like, you have to be perfect, you have to like never fail, never make a mistake, and that is absolutely not what we're saying. Actually, at the core of being truly honorable and winning your spouse's heart, winning your children's hearts, it's being authentic. You know, so a while ago, Sonika and I, you know, we went to see a couple that was leaving to the church to another city. They were moving. And so as Sonika and I, as we were sitting with a couple, they said something about, you know, our superpower. And they said, like, we want to share with you what is your superpower. And I was like, okay, what's that going to be? Like powerful preaching, you know, amazing worship in church or something like that. And then they said, your realness, your authenticity. And then I was like, what do you mean? And then they were sharing like they just don't know pastors in their past who would share vulnerably from the pulpit. You know, and for me, it was such a moment because it sort of was highlighting something that I believe is a key to authentic relationships ultimately. So it's part of our mission, in a sense, is to we don't want to project this perfect image, like everything is so wonderful and perfect, because that doesn't help people. You know, we make it our intention at times to share from the pulpit and video, wherever, to share about, you know, our mistakes and our faults and our times we had a fight. And, you know, we because we want to help people and we want to help people to take off the masks, you know, and I believe that's part of what is working for us, say, with Wian, is because, you know, if I make a mistake or I was maybe harsh with him or I raised my voice or whatever, and I realized it, then I would sit with him and I would apologize and say, Daddy's really sorry, and we'll make right and we'll fix things. You know, so honor and a house of honor or honor in the home is not about perfection. It's just about when you become aware if you made a mistake, own it at home first. You know, and there's few things that offend Christians and non-Christians, people in the church and outside the church, than hypocrisy. And hypocrisy is about being fake. It's outside in the world. And, you know, if I would be like preaching on Sunday and tell everybody, I love my wife, Sonika, I love you, but at home, you're not feeling it, that would offend you into the grave.
Yeah, and I think it becomes a prison. You know, obviously we want to encourage people to be authentic and to bring their stuff, to walk in the light. But also for me, it frees me, because if I think I can never talk about any weakness, any vulnerability, I can't share how things are going, it will become a prison for me, a prison of fear that what if people find out? What if they realize I'm taking medication because I'm battling with my sleep? What if people find out, and then how are they going to react? So for me, it's just so liberating to, in seasons, because I've battled with insomnia in my life, and there were seasons I didn't touch medication, and there were seasons that I took it because I was desperate to sleep, and I was desperate for a solution. And for me to not hide it and not to feel scared, you know, of what people are going to think, it's freedom. And I also think with Wian, you know, for him, we are a close-knit family. We are 3 in the home. So he's aware of our discussions. He's aware of our disagreements sometimes. He's aware of mommy's crying and now we need to fix this or sort this out in some way. So he sees the disagreement, but he also sees the reconciliation, and he sees the apologies, and he can see literally how the environment in our home can go from something is tense, or, you know, somebody is not at peace, or there's conflict, to complete peace. And for him, that is so incredible to witness that. Yes, there's going to be a disagreement from time to time, but there's always going to be a reconciliation. There's always going to be peace. And I think for him, it gives him hope. And it also sets him up for the reality of marriage and the reality of a family. It's not always going to be perfect. And that's not the goal. I think perfection, it's a horrible goal. Perfection doesn't bless anybody, doesn't help anybody. But if we can say that authenticity and realness, if that's the goal, how liberating.
Yes. Oh, that's good. And so for me, I think if we want to answer this question, how can we have honor in the home? I think it starts here. Authenticity, meaning I'm not going to be fake. not, because we've seen this with the pressure of public ministry with pastors and preachers. You feel like, if the people find out, like you're saying, if you find out you're struggling with your sleep or you're taking medication, that is a terrible burden to carry. So we've been very intentional. In the 3 years you struggle to sleep, and at other times, we would take it to the church. We would talk about it because other people are also struggling.
Yeah.
And it also removes the burden. It makes one more relatable. It is a powerful tool in the kingdom of God to bring hope-filled authenticity, to share about our failures, to share about our mistakes, to share even about our sins in a redemptive, beautiful way of what God has done. So we want to encourage you. Authentic is good. And let's build out this culture, this honor in the home. And we'll continue in the next session with that. I trust that's been helpful to you. What tip can you give for having a healthy marriage? Add a comment below. We'd love to hear. In the second part of the discussion with Sonika, we reveal how you can embrace healthy family habits so that you can build a strong family. Click on the end screen or in the description for part 2.